They judged me for my past and rejected me for my status. In the end, I chose self-respect over a loveless marriage. I was 28 when my life took a dramatic turn, but the roots of that transformation had been planted long before. My childhood was marked by tragedy, the unimaginable loss of my parents in a devastating accident. With no extended family to take me in, I spent my formative years in an orphanage, longing for the warmth of a family that always seemed out of reach. Fate, however, had different plans for me. I was eventually adopted by a couple whose generosity knew no bounds. At the time, I had no idea that they were among the wealthiest business magnates in the country. Their influence was vast, but their kindness was even greater. They chose to raise me with love, stability, and a strong sense of personal integrity, rather than showering me with material indulgence. Their wealth remained a quiet undercurrent in our lives, never flaunted, never used to define me. They believed in quiet generosity and the power of self-sufficiency. By the time I turned 18, I had moved into my own place, determined to build a life on my own merit. While my parents continued expanding their business empire overseas, I pursued a degree in urban planning, fascinated by the intricate design of cities and the way they shape human lives. It was during this time that I met Evan, the man I believed was my future. We were both students at a prestigious university in Melbourne, where our friendship blossomed into something deeper. Evan was charming, intelligent, and ambitious. His optimism was infectious, and his adventurous spirit made life feel limitless. We became inseparable, supporting each other through the struggles of academia and the challenges of young adulthood. After securing stable careers, he in finance, me in urban development, marriage felt like the natural next step. There was just one complication: Evan's family. He came from old money, a lineage steeped in tradition, legacy, and an unwavering commitment to social status. Their circle was exclusive, their expectations rigid, and their prejudices deeply ingrained. Throughout our relationship, Evan had been hesitant to introduce me to them. He warned me of their strict ideals and their unyielding perception of who was worthy to be part of their family. It wasn't just about wealth, it was about pedigree, about being raised within their elite world. After 4 years of dating and a recent engagement, Evan finally decided it was time for me to meet his parents. I had no illusions about winning them over immediately, but I held on to hope that they would at least give me a fair chance. The dinner was set at an elite dining establishment, the air thick with exclusivity. Despite our best efforts, we arrived 2 minutes late, a minor detail, but one that did not go unnoticed. His parents, Victor and Eleanor, barely concealed their displeasure. Their scrutiny was immediate, but it had nothing to do with my character or my love for their son. Instead, it fixated on my background. Where was I from? What did my family do? How did I afford such an esteemed education? When I explained that I had earned a full scholarship through merit, Eleanor scoffed. "At least you have some intelligence to compensate for your plain features," she remarked with an air of disdain. Evan was outraged. Without hesitation, he insisted we leave, unwilling to subject me to further humiliation. I appreciated his support, but the encounter left me shaken. Their contempt was not rooted in who I was as a person, but in the fact that I was not one of them. The weeks that followed were tense. Evan distanced himself from his parents, refusing to entertain their attempts to manipulate him. When he announced our engagement, their fury was palpable. They accused him of tarnishing the family name, of making a reckless choice that would reflect poorly on their legacy. Yet, despite their protests, Evan remained resolute. Determined to escape their toxicity, we eloped. Our wedding was an intimate celebration, a moment of love untouched by judgment. My parents, ever supportive, sent their blessings from abroad, along with an exquisite painting as a wedding gift, a subtle but undeniable nod to their wealth. Evan raised an eyebrow at the gesture, but I assured him that generosity had always been a part of who they were. His family, however, responded with cold fury. Their hostility seeped into every interaction, manifesting in social gatherings where I was deliberately ignored or treated as an inconvenience rather than as their son's wife. The breaking point came during a grand anniversary celebration hosted by his parents. The guests, handpicked from Melbourne's elite, followed Victor and Eleanor's lead, dismissing my presence entirely. Then came the final insult, a toast in which Eleanor remarked, "Only the most important people are here tonight." Laughter rippled through the room, and I realized then that I had endured enough. With quiet dignity, I stood and walked away, holding back tears until I was out of sight. Evan, however, was livid, not at his family, but at me. He saw my departure as an embarrassment, an overreaction to what he dismissed as one night of tension. His words cut deeper than I could have imagined. For the first time, I questioned everything. If the man who had once fought for me could so easily turn a blind eye to their cruelty, where did that leave us? The weeks that followed were suffocating. Evan's silence spoke louder than any argument. His family, emboldened by my absence, continued their quiet campaign against me. I made one last attempt to mend the fractures, swallowing my pride to offer an apology, one that was neither warranted nor reciprocated. But it became painfully clear that nothing I did would ever be enough for them. Then, the moment that shattered everything. Eleanor confronted me at their estate. Her words were sharp, laced with venom, rejecting not just my marriage, but my very existence as someone unworthy of their family. She mocked my past, my orphan status, dismissing my achievements as insignificant. And then, as if to cement her perception of my worth, she thrust an envelope of cash into my hands, a bribe to disappear from their lives. I turned to Evan, expecting fury, expecting him to finally stand up for me. Instead, he remained silent. That silence broke me. Without another word, I took the money, not as surrender, but as closure. I walked away knowing that I deserved better than a man who valued comfort over conviction. When I finally confided in my parents, their anger was unmatched. But they did something I never expected. They arrived unannounced at one of Victor and Eleanor's exclusive gatherings. The moment my father introduced himself, the atmosphere shifted. Their masks of superiority slipped as they realized the truth. The woman they had scorned and belittled was the daughter of someone far more powerful than they had anticipated. My father wasted no time with pleasantries. He presented Evan with divorce papers and, with quiet finality, told him, "She deserves better." In the days that followed, the fallout was swift. Business alliances shifted. Support systems crumbled. Victor and Eleanor learned the hard way that arrogance and cruelty make for fragile foundations. Evan did not fight the divorce. Whether out of guilt or resignation, he signed without protest. The messages from his family were filled with spite, but they no longer held any power over me. I had reclaimed my dignity, my self-worth. As the dust settled, I embarked on a journey of healing. My parents took me on a much-needed vacation, and in that time, I rediscovered joy. Looking back, I am not grateful for the pain, but I am grateful for the clarity it brought me. I learned that settling for less than you deserve is a choice, and so is demanding more.